My mother-in-law read my private therapy files about my miscarriage and shared them at Christmas dinner with 23 family members, so I went no contact. That was 3 years ago. She still sits outside my new house every Sunday morning with fresh flowers. I've been with my boyfriend for 5 years now since we first got together. He's really tight with my family and always shows up for our important events. My sister's been dating her fiancé for 2 years and they got engaged 6 months ago. She is the type of girl who has dreamed of getting married since she was a little girl. It didn't matter who proposed, she just wanted to be married. In the beginning of her relationship, she tricked me into going on a double date with her fiancé and his brother. She had said it was dinner with her and a friend, and it was most definitely not. The brother kept making very inappropriate passes at me the whole time, and I told him I had a boyfriend and the whole situation made me uncomfortable. At dinner, while I was going to the bathroom, fiancé's brother followed me and tried to touch me. I told my sister, but she sided with her fiancé's brother and didn't believe me. At their engagement party, my boyfriend noticed that the brother wouldn't stop staring at me, and we tried our best to avoid him. Every time I have seen this guy, he has been weird towards me. My sister wanted me, my twin, and 2 brothers at her wedding. The wedding is supposed to be next month in the beginning of May. My sister just told me that I'm going to be walking down the aisle with her fiancé's brother. I told her that he makes me uncomfortable and he touched me. I said that I thought I would be walking with my own brother. Apparently, this is something her fiancé is insisting on, and she wants to make him happy. Seems like a pretty weird thing to insist, and I know it's some scheme between the 2 brothers. My other siblings also thought it was weird and voiced their objections to our sister. She got upset and said this is her wedding and she'll do what she wants. I told my boyfriend this and he was upset for me. He's confident enough in himself that he knows this guy would never be competition, but he knows how uncomfortable I am with this situation. The other day we had family dinner at my mom's house. I took this as an opportunity to bring up the aisle situation with my mother around. I refrained from mentioning the touching as that was a while ago. Besides, I have already told my sister and hinted at it to my parents, but nothing was ever done. I just talked about the aisle situation. My sister got extremely upset and started crying, saying I was trying to ruin her marriage. I was so confused, as was everyone else, and tried to explain that he makes me and my boyfriend extremely uncomfortable. She then said that I can't bring my boyfriend to her wedding anymore, and if I do, then I'm no longer a bridesmaid. She gave no reason as to why I can't bring him, and my siblings were just as upset considering they like my boyfriend a lot better than my sister's fiancé. I thought I would give her a few days to calm down and rethink, but she has not changed her mind. My 19-year-old brother's girlfriend is still invited to the wedding. My boyfriend is an incredible guy and has been nothing but kind and generous to my sister. His feelings are hurt, but he still wants me to go to the wedding. I think my sister is being an unreasonable a-hole, and I will be pretty mad off at the wedding if my life partner is not there with me. I don't know what to do, and my family is no help either. My twin brother Caleb pulled me aside after dinner. He grabbed my shoulders and looked me straight in the eyes. "Clara, this is insane. You know that, right?" His hands were shaking slightly. The way Hazel just exploded like that, something's not right here. I nodded, wiping tears from my face with the back of my hand. My mother was still in the kitchen, deliberately clanging dishes louder than necessary. She always did that when she wanted to avoid confrontation. My father had already retreated to his study, mumbling something about needing to check emails. Matthew, my youngest brother, kicked at the dining room chair. "This is such bullshit. My girlfriend Gabrielle is still invited, but Dylan can't come. He's been around way longer than her fiancé." He shoved his hands in his pockets. "I'm calling Hazel out on this." "Don't," I said quickly. "It'll just make things worse." But Matthew was already pulling out his phone. I watched him type furiously. His jaw clenched. Within seconds, his phone buzzed. His face darkened as he read the response. "She says it's different because I'm in the wedding party and you're just a bridesmaid." He threw his phone on the table. "Like that makes any sense." Caleb paced back and forth across the dining room. "We need to talk to her together. All 3 of us. Make her see reason." I shook my head. "You didn't see her face when I brought it up. She looked at me like I was her enemy." My voice cracked. "All I said was that Brett makes me uncomfortable." "Brett?" Caleb spat out the name. "That's his name? The creep who won't leave you alone?" I hadn't meant to say his name, but it slipped out. I sank into a chair, my legs suddenly weak. At the engagement party, he kept finding excuses to stand near me. Dylan noticed before I did. We spent half the night dodging him. Matthew slammed his fist on the table. "And now Hazel wants you to walk arm in arm with him while your actual boyfriend sits at home?" My mother finally emerged from the kitchen, dish towel in hand. She wouldn't meet my eyes. "Maybe you should just do what your sister asks, Clara. It's only one day." "Mom!" Caleb whirled on her. "Are you serious right now?" She twisted the dish towel between her hands. "I just don't want to see the family torn apart over this." "The family is already being torn apart," Matthew said, "by Hazel and her insane demands." My phone buzzed. Dylan's name appeared on the screen. I answered immediately, needing to hear his voice. "Hey," he said softly. "How did it go?" "Terribly." I walked out onto the back porch for privacy. "She banned you from the wedding." Silence stretched between us. I could hear him breathing, processing this information. Finally, he spoke. "Because you don't want to walk with that guy?" "Because I dared to mention it in front of our mother." I sat on the porch steps, pulling my knees to my chest. "Dylan, I'm so sorry. This is so unfair to you. Stop apologizing. This isn't your fault." His voice was steady, but I could hear the hurt underneath. 5 years together, and I'm suddenly not welcome at your sister's wedding because you want to protect yourself from a predator. The word hung in the air between us. Predator. Neither of us had said it out loud before, but we both knew that's what Brett was. I don't know what to do. I admitted. Part of me wants to skip the whole thing, but then I'll be the sister who ruined Hazel's wedding. You wouldn't be ruining anything. She's doing that all on her own. Dylan paused. But I know how much your family means to you. If you need to go, I'll understand. Without you, walk down that aisle with Brett while you're sitting at home? My voice rose. That's not happening. Then don't go, he said simply. Clara, you've spent your whole life trying to keep peace in your family. Maybe it's time to choose yourself. After we hung up, I sat on the porch until the sun started setting. Caleb found me there, bringing a blanket and 2 cups of tea. I called Hazel, he said, sitting beside me. Tried to talk sense into her. And she hung up on me. He handed me a mug, but not before saying some pretty nasty things about you trying to steal attention from her special day. I laughed bitterly. By not wanting to be groped by her future brother-in-law? Caleb's face darkened. Is that what happened? He actually touched you? I stared into my tea, watching the steam rise. 2 years ago, during that double date she tricked me into. He followed me to the bathroom and I couldn't finish the sentence. Jesus, Clara. Caleb set down his mug hard. And Hazel knows this? I told her that night. She said I must have misunderstood his intentions. The memory still stung. Said Brett told her I came on to him. That's complete bullshit. Caleb was on his feet again, pacing. We need to tell Mom and Dad the whole story. I tried hints before. They didn't want to hear it. I pulled the blanket tighter around myself. Nobody wants to believe that Hazel's perfect wedding involves forcing me to walk with my assaulter. The word felt strange in my mouth. Assaulter. But that's what he was. Over the next few days, my phone exploded with messages. Extended family members suddenly had opinions about my selfishness. Apparently, Hazel had been calling everyone, painting me as the villain who was jealous of her happiness. My aunt texted, "Your sister only gets one wedding day. Can't you put aside your feelings for a few hours?" My cousin wrote, "I heard you're causing drama about the processional. That's pretty petty, Clara." Each message felt like another weight on my chest. I showed them to Dylan when he came over for dinner. "This is insane," he said, scrolling through the texts. "She's turned the entire family against you. Not everyone." I gestured to the living room where Caleb and Matthew were setting up a movie. The boys are on my side. 3 against the rest of the family. Dylan set down my phone. "Those aren't great odds." Matthew overheard and came over. "Actually, I've been doing some digging. Gabrielle's cousin went to college with Brett. She says he had a reputation for being handsy at parties." My stomach turned. Of course he did. "There's more," Matthew continued. "Gabrielle heard from her cousin that Brett's been telling people at their engagement parties that he and Clara have history." Dylan's face went rigid. "He's telling people what?" "Yeah, apparently he makes it sound like they had a thing." Matthew looked disgusted. Gabrielle didn't want to say anything before, but after what happened at dinner, she thought Clara should know. I felt sick. Brett was creating a narrative where something consensual had happened between us, setting the stage for more lies. "I need to confront Hazel with this," I said, standing up. "No," Caleb put a hand on my shoulder. "Let me and Matthew do it. If it comes from you, she'll just say you're making things up." They left that evening to meet Hazel at her apartment. I paced my living room while Dylan tried to distract me with work stories. 2 hours later, my brothers returned looking defeated. "She wouldn't even let us in," Caleb said. "Talk to us through the door chain." Matthew threw himself on my couch. "She said Brett already told her about the history thing. Claims you led him on at the double date and now you're embarrassed about it." "That's not what happened," I shouted, surprising myself with the volume. "We know," Caleb said gently, "but she's choosing to believe him, or at least pretend she does." Dylan wrapped his arms around me as I started to cry. Not delicate tears, but angry, frustrated sobs. 5 years of being the peacekeeper, of swallowing my words to keep everyone happy, and this was where it led. My phone rang. "Mom." "Clara, you need to apologize to your sister," she said without preamble. "This has gone too far." "Apologize for what?" I put her on speaker so everyone could hear. "For not wanting to walk with someone who assaulted me? Don't be dramatic. Your sister says it was a misunderstanding." "Mom, he followed me into a restaurant bathroom and put his hands on me. That's not a misunderstanding." Silence. Then, "That was 2 years ago, Clara. Can't you move past it for your sister's sake?" I hung up. The next morning, I woke up to more texts, this time from Hazel herself. "If you really cared about my happiness, you'd stop making this about you. Brett is going to be family. You need to get over yourself. I can't believe you're trying to ruin my wedding over some supposed incident from years ago." That last one made me see red. Supposed incident. I screenshot every message and sent them to my brothers. Within minutes, they were both calling me. "That's it," Caleb said. "I'm done trying to reason with her." "Same," Matthew added. "If she wants to prioritize that creep over her own sister, that's on her." But even with their support, I felt torn. The wedding was 3 weeks away. RSVPs had been sent. My bridesmaid dress hung in my closet, a lavender reminder of happier times when Hazel and I would plan our dream weddings together. Dylan found me staring at the dress one evening. "You don't have to decide right now," he said, wrapping his arms around me from behind. "The wedding is in 3 weeks, and you can decide the morning of if you want." He kissed my temple. "Whatever you choose, I support you. Even if I go without you?" His arms tightened slightly. "Even then, though I'd be lying if I said it wouldn't hurt." I turned in his arms to face him. "It's not fair. You've been to every family Christmas, every birthday, every celebration for 5 years. You helped my dad fix the deck last summer. You taught Matthew to drive stick shift. And now you're banned because I won't walk with someone who hurt me. Life isn't fair," he said simply. "But that doesn't mean you have to accept it." 2 weeks before the wedding, I made one last attempt. I texted Hazel asking to meet for coffee, just the two of us. To my surprise, she agreed. We met at our old favorite cafe, the one where we used to study in college. She looked tired, stress evident in the dark circles under her eyes. Planning a wedding is exhausting, she said by way of greeting. I nodded, ordering my usual latte. We sat in awkward silence until our drinks arrived. Hazel, I started carefully, I need you to understand. What Brett did. Stop. She held up her hand. I don't want to hear another word about ancient history. 2 years isn't ancient history. It is when you're trying to destroy my relationship. Her voice rose, causing other patrons to stare. Do you know what position you're putting me in? My fiance's family already thinks you're difficult because you wouldn't give Brett a chance. I have a boyfriend. Why would I give Brett any kind of chance? That's not the point. She stirred her coffee aggressively. The point is, you're making me choose between my sister and my future family. No, you're choosing between your sister's safety and your fiance's brother's feelings. I leaned forward. Hazel, he assaulted me. He tells people we have history. He stares at me at every family event. And you want me to walk arm in arm with him while my actual boyfriend is banned from attending? Dylan is not banned, she said primly. You're choosing to exclude him by being difficult about the processional. That's the same thing. She stood abruptly. I'm done discussing this. You can either be my bridesmaid and follow the processional I've planned, or you can stay home. But stop trying to manipulate me with your victim complex. She left me sitting there, coffee growing cold, her words echoing in my ears. Victim complex. That night, I made my decision. I called Dylan first. He answered on the second ring, and I could hear the concern in his voice before I even spoke. I'm done, I said, my voice surprisingly steady. I'm not going to the wedding. Are you sure? He asked gently. I don't want you to regret this later. The only thing I'd regret is walking down that aisle with Brett while you're sitting at home. I gripped my phone tighter. She called it my victim complex. Can you believe that? Dylan was quiet for a moment. When he spoke, his voice was tight with controlled anger. She's gaslighting you. You know that, right? I did know. But hearing him say it out loud made it real in a way that hurt more than I expected. The next morning, I woke to find Caleb and Matthew already at my apartment. They'd let themselves in with the spare key and were making breakfast in my kitchen. We figured you might need moral support, Caleb said, flipping pancakes. And food. Matthew was scrolling through his phone, his expression darkening with each swipe. Hazel's been posting on social media about ungrateful family members trying to sabotage her happiness. She's not naming names, Caleb added quickly, seeing my face. But anyone who knows the situation knows she means you. I sank onto a bar stool at my kitchen counter. I haven't even told her I'm not coming yet. She's preempting, Matthew said, getting her version out there first. My phone buzzed. A text from my cousin Rachel. Saw Hazel's posts. What's really going on? Before I could respond, another text came through, then another. Within minutes, my phone was lighting up with messages from extended family, all wanting to know what was happening. Don't respond yet, Caleb advised, sliding a plate of pancakes in front of me. Eat first, then we'll figure out a strategy. But I couldn't eat. My stomach was in knots. 5 years of carefully maintaining family harmony, and it was all crumbling because I refused to be paired with my assaulter. That afternoon, my father finally called. I'd been wondering when he'd break his silence. Your mother is very upset, he began, which told me everything I needed to know about where this conversation was headed. I'm upset too, Dad. He sighed heavily. Clara, I know this situation isn't ideal, but sometimes we have to make sacrifices for family. Sacrifices? I couldn't keep the disbelief out of my voice. Dad, Brett sexually assaulted me. He followed me into a bathroom and put his hands on me. That's not a sacrifice. That's asking me to be okay with abuse. That's a very serious accusation, he said carefully. It's not an accusation. It's what happened. I was pacing now, my free hand clenched into a fist. I told Hazel immediately. I've tried to tell you and Mom. No one wants to hear it. Your sister says you misunderstood. I didn't misunderstand someone following me into a bathroom and grabbing me. The words exploded out of me. I didn't misunderstand him pressing me against a wall. I didn't misunderstand having to physically push him away and lock myself in a stall until he left. Silence on the other end. Then, why didn't you tell us this before? I tried, but every time I brought it up, you and Mom changed the subject or Hazel interrupted to say I was being dramatic. Tears were streaming down my face now. And now she wants me to link arms with him and smile while my boyfriend of 5 years sits at home. Maybe if you just talk to Brett. I hung up on my father. I'd never done that before. My hands were shaking. Caleb, who'd been listening from the couch, was on his feet immediately. That's it. I'm calling Dad myself. Don't, I said weakly. It won't help. But Caleb was already dialing. I listened to his side of the conversation, watched his face go from frustrated to furious. No, Dad, you listen to me, he said, his voice deadly calm. Clara is telling the truth. I've watched Brett at every family event since. The way he looks at her, the way he tries to get close to her, it's predatory. And you're asking her to not only be near him, but to physically touch him in front of everyone she loves. A pause. Then, I don't care if it rocks the boat. Some boats need to be rocked. He hung up and turned to me. Dad says I'm being influenced by your version of events. Matthew threw a pillow across the room in frustration. This is insane. How is everyone taking Hazel's side without even listening to Clara? Because it's easier, I said quietly. It's easier to believe I'm being dramatic than to accept that Hazel is choosing her fiancé's family over her sister's safety. That evening, Dylan came over after work. He found me surrounded by printed screenshots of text messages, trying to organize them chronologically. What's all this? He asked, setting down his laptop bag. Evidence, I said, in case I need to explain to people why I'm not at the wedding. He sat down beside me, picking up one of the papers. It was the screenshot of Hazel's text about my supposed incident. You don't owe anyone an explanation. he said gently. I know, but I also know how this family works. If I don't have receipts, I'll be painted as the sister who was jealous of Hazel's happiness and skipped her wedding out of spite. Dylan pulled me against his side. Have I told you lately how proud I am of you? For what? For causing family drama 3 weeks before my sister's wedding? For standing up for yourself? For refusing to be silenced? For choosing your safety over keeping the peace? He kissed the top of my head. I know how hard this is for you. The next few days were a blur of family politics. Aunts and uncles called, each trying to mediate. Most of them started with some version of, I'm sure this is all a misunderstanding. My Aunt Linda was the worst. Clara, dear, you know how men can be. Sometimes they're just more affectionate than we're comfortable with. That doesn't make them bad people. He followed me into a bathroom, Aunt Linda. Well, maybe he just needed to use the facilities too. It was the women's bathroom. That shut her up, but only for a moment. Still, is it worth missing your sister's wedding over something that happened years ago? I started keeping a tally of how many family members used the phrase years ago, as if time somehow made assault acceptable. By day 3, I was up to 12. Gabrielle, Matthew's girlfriend, stopped by unexpectedly one afternoon. She looked nervous, fidgeting with her car keys. I need to tell you something, she said. About Brett. My stomach dropped. What about him? My cousin, the one who went to college with him, she reached out after Matthew told me what was happening. Gabrielle sat down, still clutching her keys. She said she didn't tell me everything before. Brett. He had to leave his fraternity junior year. There were multiple complaints from girls at parties. Complaints about what? I asked, though I already knew the answer. Inappropriate touching. Following girls who were trying to get away from him. One girl said he cornered her in a bathroom at a frat party. Gabrielle's eyes met mine. Sound familiar? I felt sick. Did anything happen to him? The fraternity quietly removed him, but the school didn't take action because no one filed formal reports. The girls were all told it would be he said, she said, and Brett's father apparently donated a lot to the school. Of course he did. I laughed bitterly. Let me guess. His family has money? Gabrielle nodded. Old money. The kind that makes problems go away. After she left, I sat with this new information. Brett wasn't just a creep who'd targeted me. He was a serial predator who'd been protected by wealth and privilege, and my sister was marrying into that family. I called Caleb immediately. We need to tell Hazel about Brett's history. She won't believe it, he said. You know she won't. We have to try. So we did. Caleb, Matthew, and I went to Hazel's apartment that evening. This time she let us in, though her fiancé was conspicuously present. We have information about Brett that you need to hear, Caleb began. Hazel's fiancé, Dylan, immediately tensed. If this is another attempt to slander my brother, it's not slander if it's true, Matthew interrupted. He was kicked out of his fraternity for assaulting multiple women. That's a lie, Dylan said flatly. Brett left the fraternity because he was too busy with his studies. Gabrielle's cousin was there, I said. She knows girls who filed complaints. Gabrielle's cousin? Hazel laughed. How convenient. A friend of a friend of a friend says something bad about Brett just when Clara needs ammunition against him. This isn't ammunition, I said, frustration building. This is a pattern of behavior. He did to those girls exactly what he did to me. What he allegedly did to you, Dylan corrected. Brett told me what really happened that night. You came on to him, he politely declined because you had a boyfriend, and now you're embarrassed about it. That's not what happened. I stood up, my whole body shaking with anger. He followed me into the women's bathroom and grabbed me. The women's bathroom? Dylan smirked. Brett would never do that. He's too much of a gentleman. Your brother is a predator, Caleb said bluntly. And if you can't see that, get out, Hazel said quietly. All of you. Get out of my home. Hazel, please. I tried one more time. I'm your sister. Why would I lie about this? She looked me straight in the eye. Because you've always been jealous of me. I'm younger, but I'm getting married first. I found someone who wants to build a life with me, while you're still just dating after 5 years. The words hit me like a physical blow. You think I'm making up sexual assault because I'm jealous that you're getting married? I think you're making a big deal out of nothing because you can't stand that my wedding isn't about you. She opened her apartment door. Leave, and don't contact me again unless it's to apologize. We left in stunned silence. In the elevator, Matthew punched the wall, leaving a small dent. She's lost her mind, he said. Completely lost it. She's in too deep, Caleb said quietly. She's chosen her side, and now she has to defend it no matter what. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept replaying Hazel's words, jealous, making it about me. Dylan held me as I cried, not saying anything, just being there. The next morning, I woke to find my mother in my living room. Dylan had let her in on his way to work. We need to talk, she said. I made coffee, mostly to have something to do with my hands. When I sat down across from her, I noticed she looked older somehow, tired. Your father told me what you said, about the bathroom. I waited, not trusting myself to speak. Why didn't you tell me? She asked. And for the first time, she sounded like she actually wanted to know. I tried, Mom, but every time I brought up Brett making me uncomfortable, you or Dad would change the subject, or Hazel would interrupt, or you'd tell me not to cause drama. She was quiet for a long moment. I suppose we did do that. You suppose? I just wanted everyone to get along, she said weakly. I thought if we didn't make a big deal out of it, it would go away. It doesn't go away, Mom. Brett didn't go away. He kept staring, kept trying to get close to me, and now Hazel wants me to walk with him. And when I said no, she banned Dylan from the wedding. She's under a lot of stress with the wedding planning. Stop. I held up my hand. Stop making excuses for her. She knows what Brett did. She's choosing not to believe me. That's not stress. That's a choice. My mother twisted her wedding ring around her finger, a nervous habit I'd inherited. So you're really not going to the wedding? Would you go? If Dad was banned because you wouldn't walk with someone who assaulted you, would you go? She didn't answer, which was answer enough. After she left, I felt drained, but also, strangely, clearer than I'd felt in weeks. The lines were drawn. I knew where everyone stood. Over the next week, the family divide deepened. Cousins chose sides. Aunts and uncles whispered at family gatherings I no longer attended. Hazel continued her social media campaign, posting about toxic family members and the importance of cutting out negativity. Rachel, my cousin who texted earlier, came to see me. She was one of the few family members who hadn't taken a side yet. I need to hear your version, she said simply. So I told her everything. The double date setup, the bathroom assault, Brett staring at every family event, the engagement party where Dylan and I spent the night avoiding him, Hazel's ultimatum, all of it. When I finished, Rachel was crying. Clara, I'm so sorry. I had no idea. No one wants to have any idea, I said. It's easier to believe I'm being difficult. I believe you, she said firmly. And I'm not going to the wedding either. Rachel, no, you don't have to. Yes, I do. I have a daughter, Clara. She's only 3 now, but someday she'll be a young woman. How can I go to a wedding that celebrates silencing assault victims? What message does that send? Her support meant more than I could express, but it also caused more family drama. When Hazel found out Rachel was boycotting the wedding, she called me screaming. You're turning the whole family against me, she sobbed into the phone. This is supposed to be the happiest day of my life, and you're ruining it. I'm not doing anything, I said, trying to stay calm. I told Rachel the truth when she asked. She made her own decision. The truth? Your version of the truth, you mean? Brett's a good guy. Dylan says, Dylan is his brother. Of course he's going to defend him. And you're my sister. You're supposed to defend me. I tried to, Hazel. I tried to protect you by telling you what kind of person Brett is. You chose not to listen. She hung up on me. 2 weeks before the wedding, things escalated further. Dylan started calling Dylan at work, leaving messages about how I was ruining their family. He actually said I should control my girlfriend better, Dylan told me, showing me the text messages. Like your property I'm supposed to manage. I'm so sorry you're getting dragged into this, I said. Hey, he cupped my face in his hands. We're a team. Your battles are my battles. Though I have to say, your future brother-in-law seems like a real piece of work. Apple doesn't fall far from the tree, apparently. Dylan's jaw tightened. Has Brett tried to contact you? No, thank God. Though Matthew said he saw him at the gym yesterday. Brett made some comment about looking forward to the wedding. That's it. Dylan pulled out his phone. I'm calling Dylan back. This needs to stop. I listened as Dylan very calmly, very firmly told Dylan that any further contact from him or Brett would result in legal action. The threat of lawyers seemed to work. The calls stopped. But the family pressure didn't. Every day brought new attempts at reconciliation, though they all followed the same pattern. I should apologize. I should be the bigger person. I should think of Hazel's happiness. No one suggested Hazel should think of my safety. 1 week before the wedding, Caleb and Matthew staged what they called an intervention. They showed up at my apartment with Chinese takeout and a bottle of wine. We've been thinking, Caleb said, unpacking the food. Maybe you should write Hazel a letter. Lay out everything one final time. Then at least you'll know you tried everything. What's the point? I asked. She won't believe me. The point is your own peace of mind, Matthew said. Years from now, you'll know you gave her every chance to make this right. So I wrote the letter. It took me 3 days and countless drafts. I laid out everything. The assault, Brett's continued behavior, my attempts to address it privately, her refusal to believe me, the unfairness of banning Dylan. I ended with, I love you, Hazel. You're my sister, and that will never change. But I cannot and will not put myself in a position where I have to touch the man who assaulted me. I cannot celebrate while my partner of 5 years is excluded for the crime of supporting me. If you change your mind, even at the last minute, we'll be there. But I won't sacrifice my safety and self-respect for anyone, not even you. I sent it to her email and waited. The response came within hours. Not from Hazel, but from Dylan. Your sister showed me your manipulative letter. It's clear you're mentally unstable and determined to destroy our happiness. You're no longer welcome at our wedding or in our lives. Any further contact will be considered harassment. I stared at the email, reading it over and over. Our lives. Like Hazel was already absorbed into Dylan's family, no longer an individual but part of a unit that didn't include me. That's that then, I told Dylan, showing him the email. He read it, his face darkening. Mentally unstable? They're really going all in on the gaslighting. I'm done, I said, and I meant it. I tried. My conscience is clear. The final week before the wedding was surreal. Family members made last-ditch efforts to change my mind. My bridesmaid dress hung in the closet like a ghost. Hazel blocked me on all social media, but I heard from Caleb that she was posting happy wedding prep photos like nothing was wrong. 3 days before the wedding, my dad made one final attempt. He came to my apartment alone, looking uncomfortable. Your mother doesn't know I'm here, he began. Okay, I've been thinking about what you said, about the bathroom. He couldn't meet my eyes. I believe you, Clara. The words should have meant something, but they came too late. But you still think I should go to the wedding? He sighed. I think sometimes families have to work around difficult people. We don't have to like everyone, but we show up. Brett isn't difficult, Dad. He's dangerous. And Hazel is choosing him over me. She's choosing her fiancé's family. It's not the same thing. It's exactly the same thing. I was too tired to be angry anymore. Dad, what would you do if someone hurt Mom? Would you just work around them? He didn't answer, but his silence spoke volumes. After he left, I sat in my apartment, looking at the family photos on my wall, Hazel and me at Christmas last year, laughing at something Caleb had said, the 5 of us siblings at our parents' anniversary party, Dylan and me with my whole family at Thanksgiving. Those moments felt like they belonged to a different lifetime now. The night before the wedding, I couldn't settle. Dylan suggested we go out, do something to take my mind off things. But everywhere we went, I wondered what was happening at the rehearsal dinner I wasn't attending. She made her choice, Dylan reminded me gently as we walked through the park. You can't save someone who doesn't want to be saved. I know, it just hurts. I know it does. He squeezed my hand. But I'm proud of you for choosing yourself. As we walked, my phone buzzed. A text from Matthew. Rehearsal was weird without you. Hazel had one of Dylan's cousins stand in as bridesmaid. Mom cried. Dad looked miserable. Brett made jokes about you being too sensitive to handle wedding duties. I turned off my phone. Tomorrow, while Hazel walked down the aisle, I'd be anywhere but there. And for the first time since this whole mess started, I felt certain I was making the right choice. The morning of the wedding arrived gray and drizzly, which felt appropriate. I woke up early, my body apparently not getting the memo that I didn't need to be anywhere. Dylan was already awake, making coffee in the kitchen. How are you feeling? Strange, I admitted. Like I should be somewhere else. You are exactly where you should be, he said firmly, handing me a mug. My phone started buzzing at 7 a.m., texts from extended family asking if I'd changed my mind, if I was coming, if there was still time to fix this. I turned it off without responding. Caleb and Matthew came over around 10, dressed in their groomsmen attire. They looked handsome, but uncomfortable. We wanted to see you before we went, Caleb said. Make sure you're okay. I'm okay, I said, and mostly meant it. You two look good. Feel like traitors, Matthew muttered, tugging at his tie. You're not traitors. You're brothers trying to support both sisters in an impossible situation. I hugged them both. Go, try to have fun. They left reluctantly, and the apartment felt too quiet. Dylan suggested we go somewhere, anywhere, but I couldn't seem to move from the couch. I keep thinking about when we were kids, I said. Hazel and I used to plan our weddings together. We'd be each other's maids of honor. Our kids would grow up together. We had it all figured out. Life rarely goes according to our childhood plans, Dylan said gently. I know. I just never imagined it would go this wrong. Around noon, when I knew the ceremony would be starting, I finally broke down. Dylan held me as I sobbed, grieving not just for the wedding I was missing, but for the relationship with my sister that might never recover. She chose him, I cried. She chose a predator and his enabling family over her own sister. She chose the illusion of a perfect wedding over the reality of who she was marrying into, Dylan corrected. And someday, she'll have to face that reality. As it turned out, someday came sooner than anyone expected. The reception was scheduled for 2 p.m. I knew this because Matthew had texted me the timeline weeks ago, when we still thought I'd be there. At 2:15, my phone rang. Caleb. Clara, something happened. His voice was strained, barely audible over background noise. I sat up straighter. What's wrong? Brett cornered one of the servers during cocktail hour. Dylan's cousin Nathaniel saw the whole thing. The girl was trying to get past him to the kitchen, and he blocked her path, put his hands on her waist. Caleb lowered his voice. She's 19. The catering manager is threatening to pull his entire staff. My heart pounded. Where's Hazel? Getting her makeup touched up. She doesn't know yet. Dylan is trying to smooth things over with the catering company, offering them more money to stay quiet. Of course he is. I gripped Dylan's hand. Is the server okay? Shaken up. Nathaniel's girlfriend got her away from Brett and took her outside. The girl's manager wants to call the police, but Dylan is begging him not to. I heard shouting in the background. Caleb cursed under his breath. I have to go. The photographer just quit. Apparently Brett made comments about her appearance when she was setting up earlier. The line went dead. Dylan and I sat in stunned silence. 20 minutes later, Matthew called. You're not going to believe this. Rachel just caused a scene. Rachel's there? I thought she wasn't going. She came for the ceremony but skipped the cocktail hour. When she heard about the server, she stood up during Dylan's father's toast and announced what Brett did. In front of everyone. I covered my mouth with my hand. Oh God. Half the room is in chaos. Dylan's mother is screaming at Rachel. Dad's trying to mediate. Mom's crying. And Hazel ... Matthew paused. Hazel slapped Rachel. She what? Slapped her. Right there in front of 200 guests. Then she grabbed the microphone and said anyone who believed Rachel's lies could leave. My phone beeped. Another call coming through. Matthew, Caleb's calling. I'll call you back. I switched over. Caleb was breathing hard. Clara, it's getting worse. 3 of Dylan's fraternity brothers just confronted Brett about the server. Turns out they knew about his history at college. One of them, Max Sebastian, said he's been waiting years to call Brett out publicly. Where's security? There is no security. Hazel thought it was an unnecessary expense. He laughed bitterly. The venue manager is threatening to shut the whole thing down. Guests are leaving in droves. I heard a crash in the background. What was that? Brett just shoved Max Sebastian into the gift table. Matthew's trying to break it up. I have to go help. The next hour was a blur of fragmented updates. Rachel sent photos of the chaos, overturned chairs, scattered centerpieces, Hazel's mascara running down her face as she screamed at departing guests. The catering staff had walked out. The DJ was packing up his equipment. At 4 p.m., my father called. His voice was hollow. The wedding's over. The venue kicked everyone out. Dad, I'm so sorry. Are you? He sounded genuinely curious, not accusatory. Because I'm starting to think you're the only one who saw this coming. Where's Hazel? Dylan took her back to their hotel. She's not handling it well. Your mother went with them. He sighed. Clara, I owe you an apology. When Max Sebastian told us about Brett's college history, when that young server was crying, I kept thinking about you in that bathroom 2 years ago. It's too late for apologies, Dad. I know. I just needed to say it. After we hung up, I sat with Dylan on our couch, processing everything. My phone continued buzzing with messages from family members who'd witnessed the disaster. Each account added new details. Brett had apparently propositioned 2 more women during the reception. Dylan had tried to physically prevent guests from leaving. Hazel had torn her dress trying to chase after Rachel. That evening, Caleb and Matthew came over, still in their disheveled groomsmen attire. They looked exhausted. It was worse than we could tell you on the phone, Caleb said, collapsing onto my couch. After the venue kicked us out, Brett tried to follow that server to her car. Her manager had to physically restrain him while she drove away. Is she pressing charges? Dylan asked. Her manager wants her to, but she's scared. Brett's family has money, good lawyers. Matthew loosened his tie. Same old story. What about Hazel? The brothers exchanged glances. She's in denial, Caleb said finally, blaming everyone but Brett. Says Rachel ruined her wedding, the server was overreacting, the photographer was too sensitive. Dylan is enabling it, Matthew added. He's already spinning it as a misunderstanding that got blown out of proportion. My phone rang. An unknown number. I almost didn't answer, but something made me pick up. Is this Clara? A young woman's voice, nervous and uncertain. Yes. Who's this? I'm Gabrielle. I was the server at your sister's wedding today. Your cousin Rachel gave me your number. I hope that's okay. Of course. Are you all right? I'm trying to be. Her voice shook. I wanted to thank you. Rachel told me about what happened to you, why you weren't there. It helped to know I wasn't alone, that someone else understood. I'm so sorry this happened to you. My manager wants me to file a police report, but I'm scared. Brett's brother already called the catering company, threatening to sue for defamation if I say anything publicly. That's witness intimidation, Dylan said, loud enough for her to hear. That's illegal. Who's that? Gabrielle asked. My boyfriend. He's right. They can't threaten you for telling the truth. Would you? She hesitated. Would you come with me? To file the report? I know we don't know each other, but Rachel said you'd understand. I looked at Dylan, who nodded immediately. Of course. When? Tomorrow morning? The officer said 9 a.m. We'll be there. After she hung up, I sat back, feeling the weight of the day. My sister's wedding had imploded exactly as I'd feared, but worse than I'd imagined. And now another young woman was dealing with Brett's predatory behavior. You did the right thing, Dylan said, reading my expression. Not going today. I know. It just doesn't feel like winning. It's not about winning, Caleb said. It's about protecting yourself. The next morning, Dylan and I met Gabrielle at the police station. She was younger than I'd expected, maybe 20, with nervous hands that wouldn't stop shaking. Her manager, an older man named Nathaniel, came with her. Brett's lawyer already called me 3 times, Nathaniel told us while Gabrielle was giving her statement, offering money, threatening lawsuits. But I've been in this business 30 years. I'm not letting another creep get away with hurting one of my staff. The officer taking the report was thorough, asking detailed questions about the incident. When Gabrielle mentioned that other witnesses saw Brett corner her, the officer's interest sharpened. Who else saw this? Dylan's cousin, some fraternity brothers, the photographer who quit. Gabrielle looked at me, and apparently he has a history of this behavior. I spent the next hour giving my own statement about the bathroom assault 2 years ago. It felt surreal, finally having someone in authority take it seriously. The officer took notes, asked follow-up questions, treated it like what it was a crime. As we were leaving, we ran into Max Sebastian in the parking lot. He'd come to give his own statement about what he'd witnessed at the wedding. I should have said something years ago, he told me, when Brett was doing this stuff in college. But we all just looked the other way, figured it wasn't our problem. And now? I asked. Now I have a daughter. She's only 2, but someday. He shook his head. I can't be the guy who stayed silent anymore. Over the next few days, more stories emerged. The photographer filed her own complaint. 2 guests came forward about inappropriate comments Brett had made. Rachel connected me with 3 women from Brett's college who were finally ready to speak up. Dylan's family tried damage control. They issued statements about misunderstandings and overreactions, but the truth had momentum now. The venue banned them from ever returning. The catering company blacklisted them. Wedding vendors across town shared warnings about the family. A week after the wedding, Hazel called me. First time since everything fell apart. Are you happy now? Her voice was raw from crying. My wedding is ruined, my reputation is destroyed, and it's all over social media. Hazel, no, you listen. Brett made some mistakes, but you've blown this completely out of proportion. 1 incident 2 years ago. It wasn't 1 incident. You know that now. You saw what happened at your own wedding. That server was flirting with him. She was 19 and trying to do her job, just like I was trying to go to the bathroom when he cornered me. I kept my voice steady. And the photographer? The other guests who've come forward? Were they all flirting too? Silence. Then, Dylan says his brother is just friendly. People misinterpret. Hazel, stop. Please. You know the truth. You've always known. I have to go. Her voice was small. Dylan is calling me. She hung up. It would be the last time we spoke for months. The legal process moved slowly. Brett hired expensive lawyers who tried every trick to get the charges dropped. But Gabrielle held firm, supported by the other women who'd come forward. I attended every hearing, sitting in the gallery with Dylan and my brothers. Dylan stood by Brett, of course, paid his bail, hired his lawyers, posted on social media about his brother being falsely accused. Hazel echoed every word, attacking anyone who dared speak against her brother-in-law. 3 months later, on a Tuesday afternoon, I was at work when Caleb called. Hazel left Dylan. I nearly dropped my phone. What? She showed up at Mom and Dad's an hour ago with 2 suitcases. Won't say what happened, but she's been crying nonstop. Did she say anything about— No, nothing about you or the wedding or any of it. She just keeps saying she needs to stay there for a while. I wanted to feel vindicated, but mostly I felt sad. Is she okay? Physically, yes. Emotionally, I don't think she's been okay for a while. That evening, my mother called. I know you and Hazel aren't speaking, but I thought you should know she's home. Caleb told me. Clara. She paused, choosing her words carefully. She found messages on Dylan's phone. He's been covering for Brett for years, paying off women, threatening witnesses. She found receipts for payments to 3 different women from before they even met. So she finally believes Brett's a predator? She found photos. Brett had taken pictures of women without their consent, including ... My mother's voice broke. Including one of you from the engagement party. You didn't even know he was taking it. I sank onto my bed, feeling sick. He had photos of me. Dylan had been keeping them on his phone, as insurance apparently, in case you ever went public with the assault. Oh God, there's more. Hazel found messages between the brothers from right after your wedding confrontation. Brett was bragging about how he'd finally get to touch you during the processional. Dylan was encouraging him. I couldn't speak. Dylan took the phone from my hand, talking quietly with my mother while I processed this information. My sister's fiancé and his brother had been planning— What? What would have happened if I'd walked down that aisle with Brett? 2 days later, a letter arrived. Hazel's handwriting. Clara, I don't know how to start this. I'm sorry feels inadequate. I knew feels too painful to write, but both are true. I'm sorry. I knew. I knew when you told me about the bathroom. I knew at every family event when Brett watched you. I knew when I demanded you walk with him. I knew, and I chose my fairy tale over my sister. Dylan showed me the photos Brett took of you, laughed about them, said it proved you wanted the attention. That's when I finally saw what I'd been refusing to see. What you tried to tell me. What everyone tried to tell me. I'm not asking for forgiveness. I don't deserve it. I just needed you to know that I know now. I've always known. I was just too much of a coward to admit it. I'm getting a divorce. I'm in therapy. I'm trying to understand how I became someone who would sacrifice my sister for a wedding. You were right about everything. I'm so sorry I didn't listen. Hazel. I read the letter 3 times before showing it to Dylan. He held me while I cried. Not happy tears or sad tears, just tears of release. Are you going to respond? He asked. Not yet. Maybe not ever. I don't know. Whatever you decide, I'm here. The next few months passed in a blur of legal proceedings and family dynamics. Brett eventually pled guilty to lesser charges to avoid trial. 6 months probation, mandatory counseling, and a restraining order keeping him away from Gabrielle and me. Not enough, but something. Dylan divorced Hazel when she refused to support Brett anymore. He tried to make her pay for the canceled wedding, but her lawyer shut that down quickly. Turns out Hazel had kept receipts too of every threat, every payoff, every cover-up the brothers had orchestrated. I didn't reach out to Hazel during this time. Neither did she, beyond that one letter. We existed in parallel orbits, both healing separately from the trauma of that relationship. It was Caleb who finally broke the stalemate, 8 months after the wedding. She asks about you, he said during one of our regular dinners. Every time I see her, what does she want to know? If you're okay, if you're happy, if you'll ever forgive her. I don't know if I can, I admitted. She knew Brett assaulted me and still tried to force me to touch him. How do you forgive that? You don't have to, Dylan said. Forgiveness isn't mandatory. But as more time passed, I found myself thinking about Hazel differently. Not with anger, but with pity. She'd been so desperate for her fairy tale wedding that she'd sacrificed everything real for something fake. She'd lost her sister, divided her family, and married a man who helped his brother prey on women. A year after the wedding, I finally responded to her letter. Just one line. I'm glad you're getting help. She didn't write back, but Caleb told me she cried when she read it. Life moved forward. Dylan and I got engaged. A quiet proposal at home. No grand gestures needed. We planned a small wedding with just close family and friends. No big bridal parties, no forced pairings, no drama. When it came time to mail invitations, I stared at Hazel's name on my list for a long time. Dylan found me there, pen hovering over the envelope. You don't have to invite her, he said. No one would blame you. I know. I set down the pen. I'm not ready. Maybe I'll never be ready. That's okay too. We got married 6 months later in a small ceremony in my parents' backyard. Caleb was Dylan's best man. Matthew walked me down the aisle. My parents cried. Rachel gave a beautiful reading about choosing love over fear. Hazel wasn't there, but she sent a card. Wishing you all the happiness I almost stole from you. May your marriage be built on truth, not fairy tales. With love and regret, Hazel. I kept the card, but didn't respond. Some bridges, once burned, can't be rebuilt. But maybe that's okay. Maybe the lesson isn't about forgiveness or reconciliation. Maybe it's about learning to choose yourself, even when it costs you everything. Maybe especially then.